Newman bar in that car. That's what saved, or that's what everyone's saying saved Ryan Newman in this crash.
So the I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to interrupt you because this was a really good this is a really good discussion regarding NASCAR, and I was actually legitly learning about all this stuff. But we're live for Down in the Valley. How's it going, guys? Welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. My name is Edson Ochoa. Accompanying me today, as always, good friend and co-host Jacob Young. Jacob, what you been up to, buddy?
Not too much. Today's been great. Been just chilling, really. Watched some soccer yesterday and ready to talk about some more soccer today.
Yeah, I don't want to say there's a lot to talk about, but there are some interesting topics that we really do want to cover, and I don't understand why Skype gave me the mini version of your screen on OBS, but there we go. So yeah, welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. So today we've got a couple of topics that we're going to be talking about. One of them is, we're going to be talking about last Saturday's preseason match against Austin Bold, or at least the very little that we know about that match, which leads us to the next topic in regards to the information that RGVFC is withholding from the fans, whether it's from the actual community manager or wherever. But it is something that was brought to the attention of Ron Patel on social media. Thank you, Texas Soccer Journal, for that tweet. And then also leads us to the other topic, which is Ron Patel himself. Like always, the phone line will be open at 956-622-5977. Once again, 956-622-5977. Also, we want to thank our sponsor, Natural Beauty Spa, for their continuous support of Down in the Valley, and also big shout out to the Beautiful Game Network. If you guys want to listen to our podcasts as well as other USL podcasts, be sure to check out the Beautiful Game Network and their website, www.bgn.fm. Also, if you guys want to listen to our podcasts on your favorite podcasting platform, we are now on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and just recently launched TuneIn Radio. So you have now 6 options to choose from in order to listen to us rant about this team. But Jacob just looks at me like, really, you went there? But yeah, you have 6 options to listen to the podcasts. Be sure to check us out. Be sure to support us that way. Not only on the show, which we do appreciate, but if in case you missed the show, or if you have friends that have not known about us or anything like that, be sure to let them know about our podcast and all of these platforms. We really would appreciate it. And speaking of that, those of you who are listening right now or watching right now, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. So just looking at the chat, it says Harry Austin says, "Hi, this is a bot from SA. You can just call me the RGV Master." So what's up, Harry? Harry says, "That was a wicked crash. Crazy he's walking away. Amazing for Newman and his family." And then Jorge says, "The man is made of steel."
Yeah. I mean, I won't get into any more detail about that, but yeah, crazy. He's walking away. Glad to hear everything about it. And we'll just continue to monitor him in the NASCAR world and see where it goes from here, if that's the end of his career or if he'll continue, because he is 40 years of age. Normally around that age barrier, basically in the motorsports industry, you don't see a lot of drivers continuing, especially after wrecks like that. Reason why Dale Jr. retired because of too many concussions and all that fun stuff. And of course, he's got a family, so yeah, we'll see where it goes from here.
Definitely agreed. But I'm pretty sure, guys, if you want to talk more about NASCAR, I'm not the expert around here. That would be Jacob. So be sure to you can if you guys want more racing stuff, whether it's, Formula, what do you usually base on? Is it Formula, 3 or right?
Formula 4, Formula 3, I'll talk Formula 1 sometimes, IMSA, basically all motorsports because it's very fun. But especially the grassroots racing like Formula 4, I'll talk about that a lot.
Yeah, so be sure to subscribe to his channel, Tip of Texas Sports Network. He's had a lot of amazing interviews with a couple of racers. He also does sim racing, commentary. I think he still do that, right?
Yeah.
And he does his own video game racing himself. So be sure to subscribe to his channel. Also subscribe to his Twitch at the Overreact. I know you changed it, right?
The Overreacted Gamer.
There we go. The Overreacting Game. The Overreacted Gamer. So be sure to follow him on Twitch as well for all of that stuff. But anyway, let's get back to RGVFC business. So the first order of businesses we talked about, or we're gonna be talking about, is last Saturday. RGVFC traveled up all the way to Austin to Bold Stadium, and they were going to they faced off against Austin Bold. The final score was 2-2. RGVFC actually was winning after the first couple of minutes. I think it was in the 14th minute where RGVFC scored the goal thanks to Garrett McLaughlin, and then RGVFC scored a second goal later on, also in that first half, if I'm not mistaken. This time it was scored by a trialist. No name was given due to rules. I still don't know if it's USL or stuff like that. But I know a lot of the USL teams, they just mention the word trialist, don't necessarily say the player's actual name. I think it's rare where I've seen teams do that. In the second half, RGV and Austin Bold started putting in more of their trialists and their reserves into the match, and Austin Bold ended up tying the game 2-2. Both goals scored by Austin Bold were also scored by some of their trialists. So, like I said, final score was 2-2, and it's funny how, because it's not the first time I've seen on Twitter somebody say this: starting 11 versus starting 11, we won 2-0 against a team that has a lot of experience in this roster. And yes, it's preseason. Yes, we don't have a lot of details as to what how the team lined up as far as the actual roster, or what kind of tactics, or how the play went on, because number one, it wasn't streamed, and number two, RGV did not announce a starting 11 for that match. But Austin Bold actually did announce their starting 11 for that match, which is kind of interesting. But I guess that's just the way it is. So Austin Bold actually started. Take a look at this. They started with Diego Restrepo on goal, and that's a keeper that's been a major headache, not only with Austin but also when he was with San Antonio. But he's been a major headache for this team. McFarland, Garcia, Evans, Soto, Brahid, Xavi Baez, Okugo, Billy, cut inside man Forbes, Devi Ardi, and Alex Lima. Out of that list, Yes, out of that, Jacob is like, you're surprised.
Lima.
Yeah. Alex Lima, Restrepo, those are the ones, and of course, Billy Forbes and Baez. Those are the four names that stick out because of the experience that they bring in. And RGVFC, without Ben Willis, without Isidro, without Andrew Samuels, and without Nico Lemoyne, was able to score 2 goals against this lineup. I mean, I want to be cautious, wary, because it is preseason, but surely that's got to give some sort of a glimmer of hope for the fans going into the 2020 season. What do you think, Jacob?
I mean, why would it not? The big thing that we've always had trouble with has been the bench, and take it as you will, whoever's listening or whoever will be listening in the future that are players. It's true, though. When we had those mid-season basically turnarounds where we kind of went on a losing streak, especially, and getting on that winning streak once again, the big thing was, well, and we kind of even talked about it with Coach sometimes, is that we'll take advantage of your opportunities, especially if you're a bench warmer wanting to impress Coach in the meantime. They wanted their starting minutes, and they finally got those kind of halfway through that season. Mm-hmm. And then we saw, well, they're not that impressive. This is the reason why they're on the bench. And sure enough, Coach even kind of pointed that out sometimes. And so that was a big thing. And why I'm kind of talking about it that way is, well, they're not necessarily going to be starting. As we know, Nico Lemoyne and Ben Willis, and well, even sometimes Kyle Adams will be brought down here. They'll most likely be the ones starting, especially when they kind of know the game plan. Mm-hmm. And that big thing is, well, now we know that we have some subs that can, when need be, step in and perform. Now, of course, if they do get subbed in, they will need their time, as in like a 60-minute substitution or something like that, because, of course, as we kind of all know, I think there's some study, it's like they need 15 minutes to warm up, and then right afterwards
get in the groove.
Perfectly fine. So, yeah, it's just that has to have some glimmer of hope, and it shows that, well, we have some players on the bench that are ready at any means to try and start.
Yeah, and it's really important, and I talked about it yesterday on the Peel, and I've mentioned it many other times on this show, is that it's really important for this team to get consistency within its lineup for chemistry, but also, you know, you've got to be able to rotate the squad gradually, and maybe 1 or 2 players here and there, so that by the time they are needed for, let's say, an injury or a call-up, or heaven forbid they get transferred out somewhere, or their loan expires, you got this player below him who's got a couple games of match fitness, and it's not going to be as big of a difference, tactically or anything like that, because he's already kind of used to how everybody else in the roster plays out. And I think this, with Isidro and Ben and Samuels and Lemoyne being with the Dynamo for this preseason, I think this is a good test to see what we have below them. Because fact of the matter is, if early in preseason you've got these 4 players being called up to the first team, means that they've got their eyes on them. So if Isidro Martinez continues to excel at the USL level, don't be surprised if mid-season he gets offered an MLS contract. And then what's going to happen? Who's going to be below him? So I think this has been a great opportunity for Coach to see who he can rely on if that were to happen, and kind of avoids what's been happening the last couple of years, where somebody gets called up and okay, now how can with who can I replace this player? Because you don't have anybody below him that is good enough to excel given minutes. You know, how long did it take the team to find the replacement for Malik Foster? You know, it took a while. So, and it ended up being Juan Carlos Obregón that made a bigger impact. And Kevin Rodriguez made a bigger impact in that position, even though we had gotten Deshane Beckford on a loan. So I think that's where I'm heading at, that this actually is pretty good for this team in order to, like I said, continue to learn more about each other and continue to grow towards the home opener against Los Dos on March 8th. There it is.
Yeah, exactly. And also to add on that real quick as well is the big thing of competition. You want that on your team. You want to have competition during practice, as in you're fighting for, well, the spot on the first team, basically, instead of being on that second team stuck on the bench. And so that's going to also bring a good balance to this team, is that they know, well, guess what? No matter what, we have these two players that, well, maybe 1 week you have someone else on the field and it can go kind of back and forth. And then it's going to also be great going back to it. We'll have games on a Wednesday and we'll have games on a Saturday those same weeks. Put one of them in and then switch them out, most likely, if they feel tired or if they feel like they can't necessarily do 2 games in a week, which, by the way, I mean, it's just almost common sense to save your players for even a bigger game too. So that's just going to be a perfect balance, and it's going to help us out tremendously as long as that competition will keep going and both players will stay on their A game.
Correct. And I think one of the things that kind of screwed us over, pardon the phrase, was exactly that. Whenever we did have midweek matches, coach tended to put in a completely different squad for those midweek matches. And, you know, we saw it against Los Dos at Dignity Health Sports Park, where you saw the first half and it was like the players did not know each other. It's almost like if they were in preseason, to be honest. You know, missed passes, the timing was just not right. You can say also, like, for example, the ability to, like, defend, you know, the timing just wasn't there. It took until the second half, when you brought in Isidro, when you brought in Michael Salazar, where things started getting better for the Toros. And we saw it again against Fresno, another midweek match, where it was like, it was bad, 5-0. It was 5-0 bad, and it could have been a whole lot worse, to be honest. But what's the most common denominator? Most common denominator between these two games was that you had to put in, because of the schedule, you had to put in your bench and your reserves into this match. And sadly, a lot of these bench and reserve players just didn't step up. They're young. They've still got a lot to learn, you know. But the question is how much is this also on the planning, like we're talking about getting almost everybody that could be necessary to be used some match day experience.
Yeah, exactly. And of course it does help benefit us for playing, especially on the road, versus two, well, top teams, at least in Texas, I would call. And why I'd say that is because, well, just Texas is better than everyone else. And so you've got San Antonio FC, you've got Austin Bold, you got, well, a team that could technically be from New Mexico, but is El Paso. And then, of course, you got RGVFC. Not in that particular order at all. Don't get me, like, don't at me or anything like that,
Yeah.
RGVFC fans. But my point is, it's just these are tough opponents. No matter when you play them, whether it's in the preseason or in the regular season, of course, the best is going to come out of you, and you will want to play as well as possible to try to beat your rivals. It's just always going to bring that fun and excitement of a game as long as it's played cleanly. Now, if it starts to be dirty and there starts to be a little bit of fights breaking out, then that's a different story. But like I'm saying, it's just always great. And think about it this way, too. Remember, San Antonio FC and Austin Bold FC called out to RGVFC. So without those two teams playing against RGVFC, where would they be at? Because I don't know. They didn't necessarily decide to have any more preseason games besides San Antonio FC and Austin Bold. So it's always nice and beneficial to have those preseason games to figure out where you can lack and where you can come back from. Now, the big thing as well is scoring goals, because remember, RGVFC were able to score goals easily in preseason, whether it was like a 5-4 loss in San Antonio or something crazy like that, but there were goals being scored. And then they came back to the first game and struggled to put the ball basically on target. So
Yeah,
that's
don't
something
remind
that
me.
we'll have to watch out for and make sure that that almost doesn't happen again.
Here's another interesting aspect about that. And before I go on, I do have to say this: you harp on El Paso for being almost New Mexico, but yet there's still more Texan than Frisco. Just putting it out there. But anyways, back on topic. One of the interesting aspects of this whole thing with preseason is, yes, you're gonna be a lot of coaches in preseason. They're gonna be doing a lot of experimenting with the with formations, with rosters. Trialists, trying to prove that they've got what it takes to get a USL contract, but it's a whole different animal when it comes to the actual games during the season. And best example was, you just said it, against Tacoma Defiance last season, where it was like it almost seemed like they were. No, I don't want to say that because that's gonna sound so bad. But the ball didn't go in. Whereas you saw in preseason, they were scoring, like you said, a bunch of goals left and right. And they struggled a lot during the beginning of the season. You're like, what happened to this team? Well, number one is you're going up against teams that have already got an established roster. They're not going to be experimenting anymore. And number two, it's a different kind of pressure playing, actual games that actually mean something when it comes to like getting 3 points rather than just some sort of scrimmage where you're just trying to kind of loosen your legs up in preparation for this match. So like I said, it's good news for RGVFC fans to take this 2-2 results, but with a 2-0 win, or starters versus starters, in quote, air quotes. But still, there's still a long way to go. Even Coach Echeverri has said it. There's still a lot of things that need to be improved before we can make a decision, or pretty much a decision on how well this team can perform in the USL. So next, like I said, that was pretty much it. This weekend, this Saturday, they're traveling up to Dallas. They're going to take on SMU, the SMU Mustangs. And another closed scrimmage over there before they end their preseason playing against San Antonio FC on Friday at, 1:30 or 2 or something like that, around there. So, like I said, I'm pretty sure they're going to be doing well against SMU. The biggest question, and especially now that San Antonio has gotten a couple of signings in the past couple of days, this is where the biggest question is going to be, how can they go up against this San Antonio FC? And so that'll be that. I think that will answer a lot of our questions on how prepared this group of players are going into the 2020 season. But that's pretty much all that we know about this match against Austin. There was some sort, or Texas Soccer Journal kind of did make public a complaint about the way the Toros handle these preseason matches. Because let's be honest, there really wasn't a lot of announcing or fanfare by the social media team at RGVFC regarding this match. I didn't see an announcement saying that the game was that day, that Saturday. I didn't see game day today. We're playing against Austin Bold in preseason. You look at Austin Bold, you look at San Antonio, you look at all these other USL teams. They make a big deal that they have a game that certain day, even if it's preseason. But at least it gets people to kind of like be on the lookout. Okay, we'll try to find some information. That's another thing. Where is that information? Why is it that other teams like San Antonio, like Austin, like Phoenix, they post starting 11s? I'm not expecting them to say the names of trialists. We understand that there's some sort of rule going on about that. But at least tell me the names of what the starting 11 was for these specific starters that are already signed to a USL contract. Why is it that we get nothing out of it? It's funny that we want the fans to be more informed about this team, but yet we don't give them the information to be hyped up about it in the first place. That makes no sense to me. I don't know whose decision that was. And honestly, it leaves me rather frustrated. And it left Texas Soccer Journal very frustrated that he vocally, he's very public about that complaint and I got to give kudos to Ron Patel, our new president. He stood up to the plate and says, "You're right. We could be a whole lot better in this aspect, and we're going to be." To me, that is a lot better of a reaction than previous presidents. And you guys know who I'm talking about. Because it's ridiculous that it was almost like you rarely saw our previous president, be vocal or interact with the fans on Twitter regarding the RGVFC team, or even take criticisms the way that Ron Patel has done it. Yeah. I'm really expecting a lot, and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing so far. From Ron Patel, there's a lot of work to be done, especially in that aspect of informing the fans about the team, and hopefully we can get some more improvements on that certain aspect. But yes, RGV, you've got to, if you really want the fans to be hyped up, to be informed about their own team, you gotta inform that. You gotta tell us who's playing and who scored, or at least give us a synopsis of the matches. Even when you're away, somehow at least retweet the stuff that, let's say in this case, Austin Bold did. Not wait until 2 hour or 1 hour after the game ended to say, yes, by the way, the game ended 2-0, scored by Garrett McLaughlin and a trialist. No. You got to be proactive, not reactive. That's all I'm saying. And, we wish we could do that, but come on. We've got our own lives to live, especially in the weekend. So it's up to the team to do that job for the fan base.
Yeah. And not to mention that more than half the preseason games are private. Not even going back to last year, but still even sticking with this year, you're talking about several scrimmages for RGVFC being private. I'm barely sure if the Austin Bold game was public for fans to watch in general. But yeah, it's an interesting thing that kind of needs to stop. I'll give you this. If you want to make it private, just send your, I don't know, your Instagram or
your community
people
manager
in charge of social media over there. And why? To get play-by-play, or not play-by-play, but just to say this person scored, this person's being subbed out for maybe a trialist or whatever. That is all you would have to tweet. You wouldn't even have to show the game. And guess what? That doesn't give anything away from either side.
Correct.
So I know that's all that they want, is to cover what formation and
tactics.
What the lineup almost that they're going to use. That's all they want to hide. 9 times out of 10, that's why. That's the whole reason why in my actual real job, high schools don't want us to record some games, or if we do, we have to take them instantly down of every social media that we post on. That's totally different. It's high school, but it's kind of the same deal here. If you want those practices, those scrimmages to be private, all we're asking for is, okay, game day this day, we'll play this team in a scrimmage, so it will be closed, but we'll be able to live tweet or something basic like that.
Correct.
All we're asking.
Yeah, you're 100% spot on. And you look at this chat. So Harry says, wish it was open, but like MLS, USL likes to keep fans away, rant over. And then Michael Reyes, by the way, welcome, welcome Michael, welcome RCN, and welcome Johnny, El Presidente. So Michael says, or even come to hang out with the Stampede. Can't wait to see what he will do this year. And he's talking about Ron Patel there. By the way, I did enjoy him going over with the Stampede. RCN says, RGV Twitter game is weak. Other team social media is on it as soon as goals are scored or something good happened. Starting lineups posted sooner than RGV. Mm-hmm. And I'm not one to tell somebody else what 100% like, oh, you need to do this, or this, because my Twitter game is pretty weak too. I mean, but then again, I'm not being paid, to post on social media at all, all day. But the point of the matter is, at least be more interactive. You want a perfect example on what a really good social media game does for a team? Go look at Forward Madison. They've got fans all over the country just because of how well they run their social media. Mm-hmm. I mean, why did it take 2 days for RGV's community manager to have a reply for the banter that San Antonio made by the signing of Chuy Enriquez? Why did it take them 2 days? That's just bad. You got to be more interactive about it. The fans want to know more about the team. At least give us something that you are allowed to say, to give out, that's just enough to inform, but not necessarily, like you said, give tactics or anything like that away. But don't give us anything, or don't give us.
Don't not give us anything.
Exactly what you said. Mm-hmm. It just shows a lack of, what's the word I'm looking for? It seems like in that aspect that the team doesn't care about the fans. And I might be a little bit over the top with that statement, but let's be honest. I mean, the fans want to really, the fans that do follow this team, they want to know about what's going on with this team. How hyped up should they be coming into the season, right? They want to know, who do we have to look out for going into the season, as far as who's going to be our goal scorer, who's going to be our assister, who do we have to look at, right? We want to know who scored, who came in at least, but we get almost nothing from these matches. At least tell us there's game day. That's the bare minimum. I feel like I'm falling down a rabbit hole with this topic, but it's something that needs to be talked about in public.
I mean, at least for just the inform of stuff. Like, if there's a signing, please instantly get to it. Like, just tell us who, because we just need more information for this right now, because the whole reason is trialist, cool, but buy now. And remember, we are close to a week away from the MLS season, which means we're less than a month away for the USL season. And I'm sorry, by now, or at least by one more week, we should honestly have our starting lineup set. Yes, it might be a little too quick, but in my eyes, shouldn't you really have things kind of set up a month to go for the season? And yes, of course, that might be going a little too far, but it's frustrating because, like you said, Edson, we just don't know a lot about this team. We watched one friendly, and we're barely able to pick up any info because, well, there were still a ton more trialists, and there were some signings. But once again, they had tryouts like a week ago, just from that day, basically. And so you didn't have anybody to sign then or found anyone to sign just yet, so you had to make them a trialist at that point. A lot of things like that is very frustrating for fans that will want to know. And this will almost bring perfectly into the topic that I also wanted to talk about, which is attendance. And why I would want to say that is because, well, what player do you have to root for if you don't know the team? And it's funny because I also was just scrolling through Instagram today and happened to see RGVFC or the RGV Vipers page saying that they are ranked second in the NBA G League because they average about 5,000 plus fans in the stadium, which that's impressive for a struggling team this year. Correct. Yeah, shots fired. Oh, well, it's the truth, though. They're very inconsistent. And so it made me think, what if marketing and, the social media stepped up their game? We'd see, like it's interesting. Yeah. Because on most of their pages, is what I'm also trying to say, is they say, like, get to know this person, get to know that person, whether it's from the cheerleaders pages or even from the Vipers page.
Yeah.
We're like, the Toros page is the only one that doesn't have that. Or it's like, get to know, I think they tried to do it last year, get to know Chuy Enriquez or something like that. But once again, struggling.
So we actually have somebody on the line right now at this moment. So welcome to Down in the Valley. Who are we speaking with? Hello? Hold on. Hello? Hello, can you hear me? There we go.
Last year, Chuy Enriquez or something like that. But I'll see it struggle.
Oh,
we actually have somebody on the line right now at this moment. So, welcome to Down in the Valley. Who are we speaking with?
Anonymous.
Hello?
Hello, hey, Santos.
Hey, how's it going, Santos?
Nothing, man. We're barely checking in because I forgot the show started at 7 and I saw a message on my cell. And got into the conversation towards the continuing of the players we have to keep on rooting for without being taken up to MLS. Of course, they're trying to make it to the pros. They're not trying to get stuck in RGVFC. So that's one thing that's like hard for the player culture to adjust to, because I mean they're trying to get up there. So that's my point of view.
So in regards to what we're talking about regarding the social media aspect of the team, and I know I saw you posting something about Ron Patel being a spark, but how would you rank their social media game, to be honest? And do you think that Ron Patel could be a spark to improve that aspect as well?
Okay, hold on. Is that I'm trying to listen to you on my phone, and I'm on a delay on your live. So the question was the social media game being weak. Correct. Okay. It is. But do you think if this person in charge, do you know who it is? You got the name, or is it anonymous?
We've seen him. We've seen him multiple times. I don't know the name off the top of my head. But it kind of goes.
Is he one of the guys that like one of the season ticket sellers, or the people that we see out in or we're walking in, or managers? Because let's put it this way: what if this guy could get in trouble for putting something like talking back, and it's just going to be down the chain of command, like, hey man, what are you doing this? It's negative for the Toros. He's got to be very careful with his wording and not being so I guess so rude or something, because he can get in trouble. Maybe you think that could be a reason?
No, I understand that the USL does have some guidelines on to how to handle social media, but at least with the whole informing about the team in these preseason matches, I know that it took people following Austin Bold to get the information about who scored at what time. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know about you, Santos, but I'm pretty sure, a lot of people would be asking, well, who started or who played in this match, kind of thing, too.
Of course. Okay, and another thing that got me, I don't want to say upset, because it didn't get me upset, but thinking, really, how do they want to make a big fan base if our first preseason game was against Dynamo, and we're not going to have another preseason game until a month after? So let's say people who liked our first tailgate, our first game, the whole ambiente of the Batallón going down there, making it look bigger, getting momentum, carrying that little bit of momentum we got, and it's just gone. We're going to have to start week one basically with, if we had a little bit of uphill momentum, downhill momentum, whatever, it's gone. It's going to be gone.
And it's interesting.
So that's another thing that messed up the enthusiasm. I don't know the word exactly, but that kind of goes with it.
Yeah.
For opening game.
Yeah, you're right, because this preseason match against the Dynamo was a one complete week or month, one whole month before the start of the actual season, and
yes.
And and then it doesn't help that you are going up against an MLS team. So a lot of more casual fans that kind of go with the score line. Oh, they see a 5-0 against us, and they kind of lose their motivation or their hype towards this team. I don't know. I don't recall. I think it's always been like that, where they would only play one game at home, and then the rest would be out on the road. But the problem is you look at San Antonio, you look at all these other USL teams, they play multiple games at their home, but I think only one is actually open to the public. So at the end of the day, it ends up being the same thing, right? Yes, they're going to be playing games at home, but it's not going to be open to the public. Might be the reason that Jacob mentioned a while back regarding that. Oh, they don't want some of their tactics, to be watched or scouted by any other teams, or I don't know. I don't know exactly. But it does bring up an interesting point: is what is this team doing to keep that momentum high, to kind of ride it out until the actual beginning of the season? And what's the best way to do it? Through social media, informing the fans about the players, informing the fans about the team, how they're doing in the actual games. At least let them know that, hey, there's a game today. Be on the lookout for our social media to keep in touch of what's going on in the game. No, we get nothing of that. How do you expect for momentum to continue for this fan base and for you guys to continue to get people hyped up to join the supporters group when the team isn't doing their job? At least that's my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to say, Jacob?
I was going to agree with Edson because I think that's completely true. Is how are you supposed to help benefit that when you can't even go on Twitter or you can't go on Instagram and just say, look, this is what we know about this game, and this is also what we know that maybe Austin Bold scored first, but then this guy from RGVFC scored this next one, or as simple as this, give a rundown of the game afterwards. If you can't give a play-by-play of, or not play-by-play, but of something that happened, just basically be interactive is also all we're asking for, and they can't do that. And so that's just hurting. Well, that's hurting kind of helping the supporters groups out and all that other stuff. It's frustrating.
Yes, very, very, very. Well, guys, nice talking to you guys. I called in just a bit.
No, we really appreciate you calling in, giving us your point of view in these kind of topics. So that way, the whoever's listening to us from the team actually knows that this isn't just these two guys on camera. Just saying that is that this is what the fans feel, and that it definitely needs to be improved. Now, and like I said, hopefully Ron Patel can bring about these changes, which I know you had a lot of good things to say about him from your first impressions with him.
Okay, well, guys, I'm going to send you off with a real sexy Go Toros voice.
Go Toros!
Yeah, that's right. Go Toros. Right. And thank you, Santos, for tuning in. And we'll see you next time, man.
Time.
All right, bro.
Woo,
take care.
Toros.
Woo! Toros! All right. Have a good night, guys. All right. So, like I said, thank you, Santos, for calling in. You guys, if you guys want to give your opinions, go ahead and call in as well. The number is up here. It's 956-622-5977, and Tigres just scored. Yay! So if you guys want to give any more opinions about how this has been, I mean, let's be honest, we can't really talk much about the actual team for the same reason. There's no information to that's out there for the public to kind of analyze or anything like that. And like I said, all of this informing makes it a whole lot easier for us, the media, or for us fan podcasts to talk about the team, to hype up this team, and also to criticize, some aspects of the game. It makes it a whole lot better. Makes our whole job a whole lot easier when we actually have some information to work on, to work with.
And you also brought up media too, and that's a big thing, because we've talked about it before, how we feel like we've been, or the Toros have been neglected for getting media coverage and things like that. Why do you think that? Because, well, we can't get any news, so guess what? Literally the news stations can't report on the Toros, especially at this time. They only know, okay, this game is going to be on February 28th, is the opener. And it's also funny too, real quick, on the marketing department, like right as the whole, Houston Dynamo, RGVFC, and the jersey reveals came out, they were throughout that week and maybe even the next week after that, we're pushing, yes, come to the home opener. It's this day and tickets are on sale and all of that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of went silent right after.
The only thing
which is interesting. So it's just all this other stuff. It's like, don't go silent. Keep pushing at least that game. Because if you don't have any information to really give us, and that's understandable, I guess, in the long run. But if you don't have any real information, keep pushing that one game, whether it's like every other day saying, remember to do this. You can also call for season tickets and stuff like that.
Well, they are doing that. But they are doing that. I mean, they're talking about. No, they have been talking about. Don't forget that the home opener is on March 8th. Buy your tickets, get your season tickets, and so on and so forth. But what we're trying to get at here is the actual scrimmages. Information about the team, not just about selling tickets. It's like Michael said. He says sometimes all they care about is ticket sales. At least that's what it seems. But so I digress. I mean, I'm pretty sure we'd be getting criticism on how we're handling our social media, but we're trying our best.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we don't get paid, so hey, if you want to pay us to do social media, then sure. Or get us sponsors. And hey, guess what? That's their job.
And let's be honest. All right. So so maybe it's not the community manager's fault that there's nothing to inform or to post about this team. Go up the chain in command. Who is responsible to get that information to the community manager, or at least to release some of that information? It's going to end up going all the way towards the technical department. Yeah. So there's a fine line that needs to be addressed. And right now we're in one extreme. We don't want to go to the other extreme where we're like pretty much like, oh yeah, we're playing with blah blah. This is how we're going to be playing. Like no. But at least give us something to work with. That's all we ask for. So give us something that we can use to inform the fans, to hype them up, and keep this momentum going that we established in that Dynamo match, going all the way to March 8th. Inspirational quotes on Twitter is not going to do that. Anyways, back towards the chat. So I think they were talking about the 5,000 that you were talking about with the Vipers. They're saying so Harry. So Johnny asks, did the Vipers have a post introducing specific players before the season or during the season? Johnny says they didn't even say who the starters were. Yeah, even last year they had the Bold game also open to the public. And then RC. Yeah,
but they didn't have the Houston game open to the public that year, and it was up in Houston.
Yes, it was in Houston. That's why.
That's the difference there, because that was closed because of CONCACAF.
Correct.
So that was our only home game, actually.
Mm-hmm. So, and then RC and 7 says, even during the season, I will look at the opposing team's Twitter because they were way more on it. Substitutions, goals, close chances. RGV announces like half an hour later sometimes. You're right. I constantly find when I end up doing live tweets, I constantly find myself posting stuff a lot earlier than the RGVFC community manager or social media. But that has to do a lot of what they're watching. Are they watching the live game, or are they're watching the ESPN Plus feed just like we are? So you have to take that into consideration as well. I got to play devil's advocate on my own as well too. So. Michael says the first game of the Vipers probably had a 5,000 plus, but they were giving away a lot of stuff. Plus, they had 3 Bud Lights for $10. Johnny, the problem is whoever runs the social media is more interested in selling tickets than the actual gameplay. I feel like we need a better hype man as announcer for the Toros, especially when we score a goal, get the people into it. There's no hype in the stadium. What are your thoughts? What do you think about that? That's an interesting topic.
It is an interesting topic for sure. I kind of agree with that. The only problem is with that I've heard from inside sources and all of that stuff is they're just trying to find an actual, PA announcer that is willing to do that. Remember, their main one from last season and the couple of seasons before that, which I believe was Jake Berry, is not wasn't working with the team anymore and was just mainly working with, I believe he works for MISD at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tried, I know that last game in the preseason, I did hear that they didn't necessarily want to pay a big name for PA announcing that one. So they went to someone else. And I do agree that they're still trying to figure out or find someone to, announce or to just, be a PA announcer that says corner kick and, when it goes goal scored by blah, blah, attention, yellow cards issued out to, and just, of course, saying the ads when they have to before the game. I do get that. They're still, I believe, most likely trying to find that. Now, yeah, it's going to take time for sure.
But at the end of
I suggest, you can sign me up for that.
But at the end of the day, sorry to interrupt you, Jacob, but at the end of the day, whose responsibility is it to hype up the fan base? It should be the fan base itself, right? It should not have to take a PA announcer to hype up people just because there was a goal that was scored. I mean, come on,
Yeah. That is true.
I remember that match when San Antonio came down and they beat us 3-1, and Mikey Lopez's family was louder than everybody else at the stadium. That was I'm sorry, but that was embarrassing looking from the outside looking in.
How was it not embarrassing?
And I'm pretty sure, because I know at that time, Sean was kind of saying, well, why don't you, had this idea that, well, if you don't like it, why don't you do something about it, right? Mm-hmm. But, I'm not there at the stadium.
We didn't do anything about it that game. The Stampede was just, and I mean, it's in the past, but it's also true. I bet you Johnny can agree with us. They stunk. They were just awful. They did not care to cheer that much. They got destroyed. And
someone's not going to be invited.
Outclassed.
Yeah.
And now, take this as fire, Stampede, because you don't want that to ever happen to you again. It's as simple as that. They got to be on their toes. I remember as well, too, going back to that. Remember, I believe it was the first game that RGVFC, or close to the first game that RGVFC ever opened against, and it was LAFC. I remember talking to my uncle. He said the exact same thing. The LA Galaxy fans were louder than the supporter group. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's happened before, which is frustrating. So please don't let it happen again. Take that as fire. Make sure that you're never quiet in all the 90 minutes, whether that's playing the drums throughout the 90 minutes or, well, of course, halftime you can take a break. But just, be rowdy. Be a little bit respectful, but also be rowdy. Be loud.
So one of the things I remember from back when we were part of the Stampede was, that there were moments where you had some members of the Stampede go up in the stands and try to cheer them up, like in the middle of the second half. I was hoping that maybe that could be something that should make a comeback for this upcoming season. But it's going to take people to play. It's going to take people to step up, play an instrument, and get them hyped up in that aspect, and all of that, and I think in that case, Sean did have a point. Somebody needs to step up, and if they think that they've got some ideas to improve this stuff, step up, meet up with the Stampede, and say, hey, you know what? I got this great idea in order to make us grow and be more connected with the fans. And go ahead. I'm pretty sure Johnny. I'm pretty sure everybody else in the Stampede is going to, be open ears about it, because they want the Stampede to grow as well. They want the fan base in general to grow as well and feel more connected throughout the 90 minutes. It's not like they just find themselves in a comfort zone and they're not going to do anything to improve. They are trying to improve, and I can tell that, and I can tell you that, and we both of us know, because we hang out with the Stampede, and they want to improve this aspect as well. But we need more fans to kind of step up, join the Stampede, and be a part of a movement to be a spark with this fan base, because it's just, it needs this crowd needs to be more pumped up during the 90 minutes. And I saw a little bit of that in the Houston Dynamo match. So at least that's good. But we need to be more consistent. We need to just like Filthy Doe just said, or I think that was him. We need to start filling up HEB Park. We need to find one way or another to get more people to know about the team, to fall in love with this team, and go almost a week in and week out basis to HEB Park and go support the Toros. Because if we're gonna be at half capacity or less, I mean, really, this is a more than 9,000 seat stadium, and we can barely get like 4,000. Every aspect of this fan base, when it comes to, or this team, if I may correct myself, every aspect of this team needs to improve in order to get these fans in the stadium and fill HEB Park.
True.
I mean, if other teams can do it, why can't we? We're in a soccer hotbed. I mean, don't tell me that New Mexico is a soccer city or a soccer state, and yet they consistently fill out or close or actually fill out Isotopes Park, a baseball stadium at that. We have one of the best stadiums in all of USL. I mean, heck, we've hosted CONCACAF multiple times. That just shows you the quality of a stadium that we have in our own backyard, and we can't fill it up. Somebody's not doing their job. And thankfully, we got somebody like Ron Patel bringing in new ideas, and hopefully he's able to implement them. It's not going to be something that's going to change, that's going to happen from one day to the next. No, it's not. There's going to be a process. But we all have to put in our worth. We, as Down in the Valley podcast, there's changes that we need to make in order to help this grow as well. We're not going to exclude ourselves out of it. I think it'd be too hypocritical of us to say that we can't improve on things ourselves to improve this situation. But this can't be just a one-way street. Jacob.
Yeah, of course. It cannot be a one-way street. You brought up some great points, Edson, and I feel like we've been down this road before. But I love talking about this. It is true. You need to have butts in seats, and we can fill this place out. We've been close to doing it multiple times, even with the Toros, especially on their inaugural season of the stadium. Yes, they started a year before their stadium was completely ready because #RGV construction, and it takes a little too long. We're not Houston or Dallas. It needs to speed up. That's just the truth here. But besides all of that, it's just, well, we started to lose a lot more, and I think we just started to lose a lot more fans, not necessarily losing a lot more games. But what I was trying to make at is, as well as just marketing kind of struggled, and that, of course, took a toll, as well as losing some key players that people could relate to. Most likely, we might lose Isidro Martinez to the MLS, and that's, of course, what, at the moment, we're known for. We'll see what happens in 2021. We could see some change for the better, whether that's staying with Houston or whatever, and that's, of course, a totally different side note. We'll push that one away because we don't need to be talking about that. We've talked about it too much. But it is so true. I think marketing, yes, we're starting to see a little bit more with marketing. That's for sure. They took a step last year. Mm-hmm. They should be taking another step this year. Remember, just really what I want to see from marketing in general is taking steps forward, not really ever taking a step back now. It's just keep moving forward, keep making this team better, just like you made the Rockets better. It took them time. Rockets, wow. Just like you made the Vipers better. It took them time to get better, and they did. They finally did. They forgot about those losing seasons and were able to fill up, well, what was the State Farm Arena, now Payne Auto Arena, and got to build basically the home that the 2011 and 12 Vipers built when they won the championship those 2 years. I think it was around that time. But yeah, point being, just keep moving forward, and you can put those butts in seats. It will also help for teams to win this game and have those players that, well, the fans can relate to, whether they're homegrowns. That's a big thing. Have a couple of homegrown players, and Isidro Martinez, of course, has helped that. He's still with the team. The difference was Trey Enriquez, a fan favorite, had to leave due to, of course, Houston Dynamo. That kind of hurt as well. But just a lot of key elements kind of go into filling up a stadium, with the start of course, advertising. Because without advertising, guess what? You're not going to get A, views, and B, people to watch the game live. And that's what I've kind of learned also from my own job, is because, and this is a great story of advertising in general. McAllen ISD broadcasted a game that that the company that I work for, Rio Sports Live, did. McAllen ISD got 300 views, just 300 people watching it online. My boss does advertising, like you'll see billboards around, around like the La Feria area all the way down to San Juan. And he did that exact same game, got the feed from them, and had 3,000 views. Mm-hmm. So that's also the difference. It always will start off with advertising to how well you can make that product. But, of course, advertising will only get you so much. You still need to have good play on the field and kind of make the atmosphere buzzing. It already kind of feels like it, and it's starting to get better and better. And I like exactly what marketing and also Rene Borrego is doing. He's created that fun zone for the kids. They're trying to get it better and better. And I've talked to him multiple times. He wants to make this better, and it helps with Ron Patel. Everything that's kind of coming together, they're taking steps forward, and that helps with marketing. That helps with the CEO doing well, as of course, the president kind of agreeing on everything. So it's just a balance of, now, of course, you got to get some good play. You got to have some wins. You got to make it to the playoffs, RGVFC, because they've been so close every single year. And that's the way to attract fans, is just get that excitement, of course, building too, because once again, it's looking better than it did 2 years ago it's just looking better from 2 years ago and even last year. So I think everything building up to it is perfect.
Let's be honest, and you mentioned a good thing, and you mentioned a good point, making it to playoffs. How long was it since we first made it to playoffs? 2016? And to this day, to this day, we still talk about that match against OKC Energy. So we may not remember a lot of stuff that happened during the regular season, but we sure as hell remember that game in playoffs. So, and it's like Filthy Dose says. He says the Toros also need to stay relevant so that the fans can keep on showing up, since the season is pretty long. And how can you maintain some sort of relevancy in this long season? Got to keep on winning. Not only is it gonna make you relevant here locally, but it's also gonna make you relevant at a national level. I mean, just take a look at Phoenix Rising. You know, how many weeks were they talking about their winning streak? How many weeks were they talking about their dollar beer night? You want to be relevant in this USL Championship. You want the USL Championship official Twitter page and their social media to talk about the Toros. You gotta be relevant somehow. New Mexico United, they've got attendance. Phoenix Rising, they've got results. Louisville City, I mean, they got the championships. And what do the Toros have? Really nothing.
That one season that's almost forgotten now, to be fair.
I mean, you look at even San Diego Loyal, who else? Tulsa. Even Tulsa got a mention about their new kits from the official accounts of the USL Championship. What did we get? We got absolutely nothing. Only when Ron Patel was actually announced as the new president. And like USL Memes said, that's only because he came from New Mexico United.
It's true. I agree with it. USL Memes. Talk about another fantastic Twitter account that's just, well, social media is buzzing big time. Because, I mean, it's perfect. It's a perfect burn that is so relevant and true. It's like, yeah, we only got him mentioned because he came from New Mexico United. Perfect. Take that as fire, social media in general. Just gotta stay relevant, gotta win, gotta have those butts in seats. Yes, the atmosphere could be amazing, but how's the play on the field? We have always come back to this too. You and I have, Edson, with that talk is, well, how's you ask someone, you're saying, oh, have you been to HEB Park to watch the Toros play? They're like, no, we didn't even know there was a soccer team. What division are they in? Yeah, they're in the USL, second division in America's soccer, but they're fantastic play. Like, it's very fun to watch and fun events for the family, and it's just an enjoyable environment. Well, are they any good? There it goes.
That's always that always that follow-up question. Are they good? How are they performing? Well, they're in 12th place in D2. Yeah, I'm not going. That's exactly. Every time I've tried to get people to go to the games, they always ask that question. And how are you gonna lie? Like, oh yeah, they play excellent. When performance-wise, yes, like I said, this is a young team. This is good. And we talked about it ad nauseum about this. This is a team that's to pretty much develop players for the first team. But you think you think fans care about that? They don't. They care how you perform on that pitch. How do you perform in the standings? And I think that's something that Coach Echeverri and Tab Ramos have brought up multiple times, and we talked about it last week. They've brought it up multiple times so far, but this team needs to be better, and they're going to do whatever it takes to win more games and be more relevant on the pitch. So at least that's something that is being changed under the Tab Ramos regime. Because Wilmer Cabrera, he didn't give a damn about the Toros' performance. All he cared about, all right, how many players can I take away from you? That's all they cared about. And I'm being extremely honest. And somebody can go on social media and say, "Oh, like you're inventing." I'm not. Just look at the way he reacted when Wilmer Cabrera reacted when asked about the failure of RGVFC in 2017. He got mad, gave me a stink eye, and said, "What are you talking about? Failure? We signed 5 players to the Houston Dynamo first team." That says everything you need to know about the mentality that Wilmer Cabrera had regarding the Toros. And that's because he was the head coach of the Toros just the 2 years before. Imagine if he wasn't. He wouldn't even cared about it. I'm just being real here about it, guys.
Yeah, because it's true. And then you look at who they signed and you look at where they ended up. They ended up right back in the RGV, by the way. Mm-hmm. That's not being light at all. Like, that is the hard truth. Maybe one of them, well, technically, yes, one of them actually made it to Houston Dynamo, and we are, Memo Rodriguez, phenomenal player. But he doesn't count because he wasn't necessarily a homegrown. He was a Houston Dynamo player to begin with. Got signed with Houston Dynamo right off the bat. Cool. He was Houston Dynamo's property to begin with anyway.
Correct.
Kevin Garcia, mainly the only player that has been signed and has gotten to stay up there. Eric Bird got signed, stayed up there. But guess what? He came back down, and now he's with a different club. So several players like that have just moved out of RGV because they were promised a first-team contract, got that first-team contract, but played back down in RGV. So, I mean, yeah. We're not being light at all when saying that's just the way that Wilmer Cabrera was. Failure? Are you kidding? Yeah, that's failure. That's the definition of failure when you can't get players playing there. And then you have to rely on, guess what, RGVFC once again to save your butt in the depth department. Yeah, no, it's fair. That is failure for a soccer club.
Correct. At the end of the day, what are soccer clubs competing for? Winning trophies, making it to the playoffs, and the Dynamo nor RGV are doing that. Let's be honest. So it is a failure on both parts. But at least now there's and look, I'm not bashing Coach Echeverri at all. He makes do with what he's got. The bashing that we're trying to do is the mentality that Wilmer Cabrera had with RGVFC, and that kept pushing the Toros down to where we're at right now. Some sort of irrelevant is the irrelevancy within the tournament within the league. You know, that's why where we're at right now. Hopefully, with Tab Ramos, that can improve. We can become more relevant, and we can stop being the laughing. Well, not even the laughing stock. Not even the laughing stock. Because if we are the laughing stock, it means people cared about what happens in RGV. Nobody cares about RGV. Let's be honest. Outside of the Valley, and outside of a select number of fans here in Houston, nobody cares about RGV. Nobody is going to go out of the way to find out. Oh, let's see how RGV played, or let's see what the score was, or let's see what's going down in the Valley. Nobody. Everybody cares. Even Forward Madison from League One has more relevancy in the nation than RGV. But why? Because of their social media. They're a genius when it comes to social media. Heck, I bought a gravy boat from Forward Madison. How good is their social media that they make me want to buy a gravy boat with a Forward Madison logo? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How many times can we say the same thing about RGV? That's because we're fans and we buy the shirts, we buy stuff. But people from the outside looking in, people that are not from the Rio Grande Valley or from the Dynamo fans, never. And it doesn't help that we still don't have a online store. Anyways, back to the chat. So Johnny says, do a metro system where fans from Brownsville and Harlingen can take the bus to and from the match. Well, I think that's outside the control of the team in of itself and more along the lines of the individual municipalities of the Rio Grande Valley actually pitching in to build a decent metro system to and from the stadium throughout the Rio Grande Valley. But that's something that we can push our local government to do so, and something that maybe even Alonso Cantu can lobby for as well. Filthy Doe says the Toros have fallen into irrelevancy since they haven't made the playoffs. He says, I have a friend who had season tickets the first seasons and stopped getting them because they wouldn't win anymore. Can't blame him. Mm-hmm. Johnny says,
and of course, you don't get any reward when you get season tickets like other clubs would have.
Which is exactly why my parents decided not. We had season tickets in 2017.
Yeah.
We ended up not renewing because of that same reason. I mean, what are the benefits of us getting season tickets if we can get the same thing buying on a game to game basis? And it was very difficult for games that we couldn't make it. It was very difficult to get to give them to some or get rid of them or sell them, and they end up going to waste. You know. And then Johnny says fans get frustrated watching a non-competitive team year after year. And Jesse, my friend Jesse Pasi, he says Ramon Ayala in halftime and half of the Vayuco will be there. Trust me. You know, you might think he's being funny or sarcastic, but he brings up a valid point. You have freaking Ramon Ayala in your backyard in Hidalgo. Why can't we get Ramon Ayala to go to at least one game in a Toro shirt and use his platform, his fame, to spread the Toros name throughout the fan base in the valley, in the state of Texas, and also in northern Mexico, Monterrey, Reynosa, Matamoros, whatever. Why can't we use that? We have him in our own backyard. It's not like we're flying in somebody from Mexico City, to promote this team. I mean, that's a good idea right there. Sure, it's going to take money, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure something can be done about it. He is pretty famous after all. He lives in the Rio Grande Valley. I mean, what better explanation or what better way to show that this team is the Valley's team than hey, our locals, or I don't want to say local celebrity, but like our celebrity that happens to live locally here is a fan of the Toros.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he brings up a really, really good point. So Chewy, I actually appreciate that comment. By the way, Johnny says Jacob's spitting fire. Filthy Though says the Vipers and Rockets got it good. They should maybe have high school bands or something go play each game to have schools go, or like mariachi. You said marching bands, and I just saw Jacob getting all triggered. Because we've gotten into huge arguments regarding marching bands. Outside of the show, we've gotten into a couple of arguments regarding marching bands. But it doesn't help that that each of us is biased, with me being an alumni of the McAllen Memorial Mighty Marching Band. So, but at least something like that could help. I mean, the fans have a lot of different ideas on how to, and that just goes to show that the fan base really cares about this team and wants it to grow. But we need the team to listen to its fans. I don't understand why they haven't made some sort of town hall style meeting with the fan base. And I'm not talking about like what they did at Guadalupe Ranch, because that wasn't really a town hall. This is just something that they did. I'm talking about a town hall where season ticket holders, supporter group members can publicly and formally mention to the ownership, to front office, any kind of ideas or what they would like for the team to do to make them grow. We've had a lot of different good ideas here in the chat. It's time for this team to take advantage of that participation, go with it, and allow it to grow.
Yeah, and maybe we won't get a Matt Jordan answer from one of them too.
Oh,
so
God.
That might work. That's legitimately what it's called now.
You say the name Matt Jordan, and I have to roll my eyes.
That's my point. It's like that should trigger people when you say the Matt Jordan answer, because of course you can have those round tables or whatever where it's kind of like a panel where they get to, just like a town hall meeting, just like you said, voice their opinion, and then I don't know, one of the front office members, not including Ron Patel unless he were to give an answer like this, just a stale answer saying, oh, we're fine, we're in a good place, this doesn't need to happen, we're just happy that the team's doing okay this season.
We have to go by our core values. And
exactly.
I've really got to. Nah, that's gonna be disrespectful. But his keyword is always core values. Because I was gonna say do like a Matt Jordan impersonation or anything like that, but it's one thing with the president of the United States, Bigley, and somebody that I see almost on a week-to-week basis at the games. So, anyways, I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb, right? So, anyway, guys, I think that just about covers it for today. Like I said, it was a great discussion tonight. I loved all of y'all's input, and hopefully Toro's front office somehow listens to this, and number one, doesn't get offended. And number two, take it as, constructive criticism and keep on growing. Like I said, the point of the show isn't just to bash. We do it just because we want this team to grow. When we see these opportunities of what needs to grow, within this organization. But it comes a time where it's just frustrating that it's just like the answer is relatively obvious, and it just isn't being done. So, I know I'm gonna.
to recap, basically, all we really want is more interaction on social media. That's the main key. Of course, and I'm feeling this for sure, that marketing will go in, we'll take even bigger steps in the right direction this year to help with this team. And of course, the team, to help balance that out, will win and just continue to grow. Now, of course, with the team being good and all of that, it also comes from Houston Dynamo. We always have to remember that. Sadly, if you're like a crazy diehard Toros fan and don't care about the Houston Dynamo, but at that same time, you have to think of what Tab Ramos can help out with that if he won't necessarily take players away and all that other stuff to help benefit that team. And so it just, every little step, we want it to grow. We want more interaction with the front office to maybe voice our concerns if there is, and just to try and, talk about it and see if they can improve it. That's really, on the recap, what we kind of want.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, just one quick other thing. So, the Dynamo are playing in the Tucson Sun Cup, the Visit Tucson Sun Cup. And last Saturday, you had a couple of Toros players make an appearance. Most of them came in the 63rd minute of the game. You had Isidro, you had Nico Lemoyne, and then you had Andrew Samuels coming in the 63rd minute. Ben Willis didn't see any minutes at all. But there is some bad news. Andrew Samuels apparently left the game really early after he came in with an injury. And according to Carson, who was there at the game, things didn't really seem good. And the Dynamo has been pretty hush about it, which I don't like. But are you surprised? So, but today Isidro also made another appearance in their 4-0 win against Real Salt Lake. So it just goes to show that, hey, is this Isidro Martinez? He's the real deal. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him with a MLS contract during the in mid-season. Which goes back to the original topic of today, was we got to prepare for those kind of circumstances.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Jacob, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Not really excited. Going back to just excited about this season. I think the Toros can do very, very well this season with the new coach and with the new coaching staff, new president, everything possible with the help of Tab Ramos as well. I think I at least feel like he'll be keeping in touch with the correspondent that's supposed to help with RGVFC and the scouting and all that fun stuff, besides Matt Jordan, the actual good one. But I'm just playing here. But either way, point being, hopefully we'll see improvement this season no matter what. And I know Coach Jersman Echeverry and Tab Ramos will be wanting that indeed. Of course, Tab Ramos will have to focus on his own team. But at that same time, just, looking forward. It's about to be soccer season. How can we not be excited? So, very excited for it. Can't wait. Can't wait to come back next week and talk about it too.
Jacob Ray says, I asked him how's it going. He's like, terrible. Jacob let the beard grow out. Wow. Anyway, guys, going back real quick to the chat before we go. Santos says, Johnny says they should do a Pride Night also. Good. It's really good. I mean, everybody else does it. But seeing the reactions to that Castellanos and Coronado picture they posted on Valentine's Day, I don't think the Valley is ready for that, to be honest. Or at least the older generations of people from the Valley. We tend to be a lot more.
Good Lord. No one's ready for it in the Valley. We still live in Texas, people. You're just asking for fire.
Which is why I think,
but it's kind of true.
Which is why I think they're not. I don't think they're doing that, or at least they kind of sugarcoat and call it like Soccer for All Day or something like that. I know the Dynamo does like soccer for all event instead of actually calling it Pride Night, but that's a completely different.
Soccer for all.
That's a completely different topic. Santos says, oh, by the way, bye, Michael. Thank you for tuning in. Santos says, please, if Office was really trying to please fans, at least a minimum porta potty for the Stampede. We will be there, porta potty or not, but come on. I mean, how long has the Stampede been asking for a porta potty?
Since I think the start, right?
Yes. Come on. It's simple things like that need to be improved on. And Ron Patel knows about it. Let's hope that he's willing to actually fulfill that promise that he made when it comes to come season opener. But I'm really hopeful that Ron Patel is a man of his word. I mean, he's proven that he walks the walk and not just talk the talk or hide from the matter. Speaking of you, Bert Garcia, I did not say anything. I didn't say anything. Felicido says, if the Dynamo disaffiliated with the Toros, could they play in U.S. Open Cup? Absolutely. If we become disaffiliated, we gain independence from the Dynamo, we would be eligible to play the U.S. Open Cup.
But we have to start from basically
scratch. Correct.
Yeah, the first round.
No. Would probably
close to it at least.
I think it's in the second round. I think USL teams come in the second round because in the first round it's a bunch of amateur teams. Remember, right?
Yes.
Ray says Edson, grow a mullet. Johnny Cash sings "I Walk the Line." That line was essential. Okay. Bigger Toros legend, Bird, Ward, or Chewy? Bigger Toros legend, Ward, Bird, or Chewy? I would say Charlie Ward. Who, by the way, it's his birthday today.
Charlie Ward is, I guess, a bigger legend, but sort of who was, I don't know, they were both very vocal with the fans. The only difference, I think, was just, I don't know, Chuy Enriquez really liked to play for the fans, and Charlie Ward focused on his game, but then afterwards was, a class act to him. So kind of goes both ways, but yes, I would have to agree. I think whoever scored more goals really would be the defining, or whoever had the better stats.
That is a very interesting thing to look at. But I think as far as like the fan base in general, because I know Stampede was pretty much head over heels. We were very head over heels over Charlie.
Yeah. I do recall that.
But anyway, guys, we thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I know it was kind of more of a short notice than for example last week's. But if you guys are still here, and be sure, if you guys haven't done so, be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't done so. Also, be sure to check out our podcasts on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. I said Spotify already. SoundCloud, Google, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, and TuneIn Radio. So we got 6 platforms to choose from. Choose your favorite one and listen to us when the podcast is available. Oh, you can also check it out on the Beautiful Game Network's website, www.bgn.fm. In the website, you can go ahead and find within the menu, find the RGVFC Toros page. On there, you will find our podcast posted there, as well as articles by Carson. So you guys want to read more about I guess you can say the articles regarding, like, for example, player interviews and stuff like that. Check that out there. But what I do ask more is go ahead and check out Ray Silva's YouTube page. Let's shop local. But check out Ray Silva's YouTube page, South Texas Border Sports. You can check out the practice, post-game interviews with RGVFC Toros players, as well as Coach Echeverry. Check it out. give him a thumbs up as well. Share his videos. The more fans see these videos, the more they get to know coach and players, the more hyped up the fan base is going to be, the easier it is to fill the park as well. So be sure to check him out and support him as well as Down in the Valley. Follow us on our social media. We have Facebook, Down in the RGV, Twitter at Down in the RGV, and Instagram as well at Down in the RGV. Check out Jacob's Tip of Texas Sports Network on YouTube, as well as the Overreacted Gamer on Twitch. And then as well, you can find my articles on ditvpodcast.com. That's our website. And as well as mentefutbolera.com in Spanish. Big thank you to our sponsor, Natural Beauty Spa, for their support of Down in the Valley, as well as for the Beautiful Game Network for hosting us, our podcast on their website. So having said all of this, Jacob, take us out of here.
Adios.
So, Santos, if you want a facial, we can go ahead and get that for you. Get that for you done at Natural Beauty Spa. Thank you so much for everything. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.